Distinguished colleagues, Mr. President, I want to thank you for this opportunity to make my very brief contribution. Mr. President, I seize this opportunity too to thank my colleagues that have introduced this amendment to this very important document of government. Mr. President, I think we all agree that the bottom line on all the issues that we are conversing here is the need for us to timeously procure goods and services for the purpose of good governance without necessarily compromising transparency and accountability. And therefore, Mr. President, I think our concentration here should basically be on filling the gaps that are missing in the current Procurement Act of 2007. Mr. President, as I'm talking to you and we are leading this debate here, I'm aware that the Procurement Council that is necessarily supposed to fix and lay out the policy guidelines for the enforcement of this act had not been put in place by successive governments. And therefore, it becomes necessary, especially against the backdrop of our desire now to right the wrongs or apparent lacuna in the past legal instruments that we have in executing government policies, moving, for instance, our budget period to appropriate time in order that implementation becomes easy and meets the reality on our ground. And so, Mr. President, I think that this act to amend, this bill to amend the act is very, very important, and we must give it the serious attention that it desires. Mr. President, we must have a time frame for which the President must constitute the Procurement Council. Because as it is now, every action that has been taken by the procurement entity now, or entities, can be characterized as illegal. Because even the threshold that we talk about all the time on the procurement process is supposed to be fixed by the Procurement Council. That is non-existent. And so who has now fixed the threshold that we are all canvassing for, or mentioning all the time in the process of procurement? Mr. President, I'm also aware that there are certain basic contradictions in the procurement process. For instance, if we say that military procurements or security procurements should not be bound by the basic procedures here, without properly characterizing or categorizing those security requirements that should be left out of the ambit of this law. And if we have not mentioned that, then of course we have left ambiguities that unscrupulous public servants can exploit. Of course, there is no gainsaying at this moment that corruption in the procurement process is part of the bane of the ineffectiveness of the implementation of the Procurement Act. And so, Mr. President, I support this move to amend this Procurement Act and hope sincerely that given the experiences that we have garnered in the process so far, we'll be able to lay out a proper document that will complement a new budget cycle that we're introducing so that Nigerians can get the benefit of the efforts to give us their mandate to represent them here. Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy.